Hello, everybody. This is Coresair Mack, president of the Illinois Mental Health Counselors Association. And today I'm joined by our very own special guest, Leslie Holley. How are you doing today, Leslie?
Good. How are you?
I am doing good. I am doing good. I know you're not in Illinois right now, but thankfully it's around 50 degrees in mid-February. So that unknown Midwest weather is doing its thing.
Yes. Well, it's 51 here too and sunny. So I'm in Maryland and it's nice here today too.
All right, perfect, perfect. All right, so for those of you that don't know, Leslie and I, we have a little bit of background together. She was actually on the IMHCA board when I first joined as the graduate student board member. She was actually our first Black president-elect of IMHCA. And if you guys look at our YouTube channel, she did our very first YouTube video. You'll see her explaining all about IMHCA and introducing Joyce Martyr in that. So this is not only an honor, but a privilege as well. We're happy to have you.
Thank you. Sorry, I have a busy household. My son just left, so you heard the alarm.
Oh, no problem. Don't worry, your secret's safe with us. All right, so we'll get right into it because all your fans want to know, how did you become interested in counseling?
Well, I got my undergraduate degree in marketing from Howard University. Um, and when I got my business degree in marketing, I just wanted to have a job when I got out of school. That was important to me. And then I started researching. I really wanted to work with people. I knew that. So I started working in the music industry right after college. I didn't really feel really fulfilled in those positions. I worked for Sony Music for a while and some other places. And then I took a job as a job developer doing sales, helping people coming out of prison finding work. And part of that work was doing interview coaching and resume writing. And through that program, people would come and tell you all about just their anxieties about coming out of prison, being able to provide for themselves and their family, trauma that kind of got them there in the first place. And so I was more interested in some of those things, like how they got where they were and providing a safe space for them. And I remember the social worker on staff, she was contracted and she didn't have to punch a clock. She came when she saw her clients and she left when she, was done with her clients for the day. And I thought this is, helping people coupled with the independence of kind of having my own schedule. I thought this is something I need to look into. And so that started my journey in counseling. And I went to DePaul and got my master's in community counseling there. And I've just been enjoying it ever since.
All right, perfect. I did not know that about you. So that's great information to know. Brings us some other questions, which we'll probably have to get into a little bit later. But I know you mentioned that you went to Howard for your undergrad and then DePaul for your master's. So, you were doing that for a little bit. And then after that, you graduated, right? Yay, thumbs up. We're out there in the real world.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
So then, how long have you been doing therapy for?
I've been a therapist for over 12 years now. Um, I went back to school in my 30s because, again, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do and working in the music industry for a while. And that was really helpful for me to start my second career a little bit older. I think I was a lot more focused and committed to the work.
All right, perfect, perfect. So then, as you mentioned, you went back to school in your 30s and then you went back out there. And then I'm assuming that you've gotten some jobs, right? Because we all need money.
Yes.
All right, so what places did you work starting off in your profession, and what did you learn as a result from working at those places?
Sure. So first, I did some contract work working in the school system, in the Chicago public school system on the south side of Chicago, working with students, doing groups, doing individual counseling, and also working, I can't remember the name of the agency, working with couples at the agency as well that contracted me through the school. I really enjoyed working with adolescents in the school system. The only thing that was hard and challenging for me is when you're working in the school system, your day is not your own. You have a caseload of students and you get to school, and unfortunately, if something tragic has happened, the day changes, or say they're doing testing or there's a field trip. It really sometimes can make the work challenging and following a schedule with your clients. So after doing a lot of contracted work within the school system, at the time I was still, gaining my clinical hours, and I met Joyce Martyr through a mentor of mine, Lily Dulaney. Lily and Joyce both have been just integral in my career. And I sat with Joyce and was asking her about urban balance. At the time, I had a little obsession of researching private practices and their websites and like what they had to offer. And I always came back to urban balance. I just loved the feel of the practice, what they stood for. And my mentor, Lily, said, I know Joyce. Joyce and I used to share an office building. We were, our suites were right next to each other when they first started, working as therapists. So she introduced me to Joyce, and I sat with her, and she said, well, once you get your full license, let me know, and we can start you here 2 days a week. I always knew I wanted to go into private practice because, as I stated before, meeting this woman who was she was a social worker. I thought I liked the independence of that. So I want to have my own schedule, and I want to be able to control that. And so have that autonomy. And so, I continued to work through these contracted positions in the school systems while also working in Urban Balance. I spent a lot of years, I think over 9 years at Urban Balance, starting part-time, then full-time, then helping managing a couple of offices there for Urban Balance. And then Joyce allowed me to open up an office for her in St. Louis. And so that really helped me kind of gear myself up to starting my own private practice. So most of my work has been at Urban Balance at that private practice.
All right, very nice. All right, so we're going to get back into the private practice in a little bit. But with this next question, it being Black History Month, true, this shouldn't just be targeted just to February. This should be talked about anytime and every time. But I was hoping that you could share your experiences with us. So what was your experience, or how has your experience been being a Black woman in the mental health field?
Yeah, so it's been great. I mean, I definitely think it's nice to provide a safe space for other people of color that are struggling with their mental health. I can say there's definitely differences living on the East Coast versus living in the Midwest. When I was in the Midwest, we spent a lot of more time, I think, talking about some of the systematic racism challenges that we face, I think, sometimes in the Midwest area, and how that plays out on a day-to-day for my population. Here on the East Coast, we talk more about things on a broader level. I think there's a lot more diversity, so people aren't as targeted talking about some of those things. However, I find overall, especially in working with couples and working with people of color around relationships, how those cultural dynamics show up is always really important and highlighted. And if I had $1 for every prospective client that told me, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I found another woman of color or another person of color who kind of understands a certain few things about me that I don't have to explain to other people, that's always nice to hear. So.
All right, definitely. Well, I don't know how I'm going to follow that up, but I'm going to give it my best shot, right? Because, you mentioned something very interesting, right? You were here in the Midwest in Illinois, and now you're over there on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So that puts you in a really unique position to speak about this experience about reciprocity between states. So what was that process like getting a license in other states if you had to, or were there any reciprocity to where you wouldn't have to start all over or anything like that?
So the nice thing about Illinois is the process in Illinois to get licensed is pretty Trump tight. So if you're licensed in Illinois, you can basically get that reciprocity most places other than New York and California. In New York and California, you do have to take, especially in California, particular exams, fees, things like that. I think you have to take extra classes and then exams. And in New York, you have to take extra exams. So because I was licensed in Illinois, there was not much I had to do. In Maryland, I had to take a Maryland law test, which is like a 20-question, quick not challenging exam, and then pay the fees, of course. Of course, they want their money. So
Yeah,
pay
exactly.
the fees. But again, it was a pretty seamless process.
All right. So you heard it here, folks. Move to Maryland. You only have to pay the fee and take a 20-question quiz or test. All
Yes,
right.
Maryland law test.
All right. Perfect. So now that we've gotten all that fun stuff out of the way when it comes to reciprocity, sorry, we can now focus back in on the private practice piece because not a lot of people know, but you are a very busy woman. Not only do you have your business, you have your YouTube, and you do a lot of other different stuff as well. So, I mean, first, let's start with your business, Healing Circle. So, I always ask this question because I'm always curious. Why did you choose that name?
That's interesting. Wow, I haven't been asked that question before. I think at the time, like I said, with Urban Balance, I loved the name. The name kind of just drew me in. And I wanted something that felt warm to people. Um, and part of our tag is support, connect, and share. And I feel like a healing circle just embodies that. I want to provide an environment where people feel like they're supported, there's connectedness, and that we can share. We can share ideas and resources. And so it's a circle of people or a community that is focused on healing. And so, to be honest, I was on Google and like, what's a word for this? What's a word for that? How can I create, just putting in a lot of different feeling words and saying, okay, what's coming up and how do I put that together? And came up with Healing Circle.
All right, perfect. Well, I feel a lot better now about me choosing my name. I just chose it because it sounded cool. So, because every time I do these interviews, everybody has this like profound story. And I'm just like, oh boy, that just makes me feel so bad about my name. So, hearing that's very refreshing.
Well, thank you.
All right. So, speaking of Healing Circle, I know you guys do a lot in there. So, I'm going to start with this one first. Are there any projects that you're doing in your practice that you want people to know about?
Yeah, so we're starting some groups starting up in March for adolescents of color and women of color. We're going to be doing a monthly series for women to talk about issues around dating, which is always a fun topic, and building relationships, how to establish healthy boundaries. And then with our adolescents, it'll be an in-person group, which is really nice. We're excited about getting back into the office, meeting, young people being able to meet face to face to thrive in that environment. And that will be a bi-weekly group. Other than that, we also offer presentations and workshops. I'll be doing one on racial trauma soon for one of the contractors that we work with. We also offer a grief series for a few funeral homes in the area, in the East Coast area as well. The team has been growing. Right now, there's 3 active clinicians working with me, with a 4th starting soon. We all have different specializations, so that's exciting. I'm also thinking about doing more on my YouTube page. I really haven't done much lately, but maybe doing some type of series on 1, how to build a private practice, and 2, what to look for in a therapist and how to look for therapy.
All right, very nice. So you are going to be super busy then.
Yes, always.
Right. So then I'm pretty sure, moving from Illinois to Maryland brought its own challenges. So then when you got into Maryland, right, you took the test, paid the fees and all that fun stuff. Then you started your practice there. So what hurdles did you have to overcome when starting to practice in Maryland? And was it any different than Illinois, or what would you say to that?
No, I think there's some you know, there's nuances along the way that you learn. You get letters from the Maryland comptroller, like, you need to pay this fee. You need to, you have a business, you have to pay this tax. It's like, oh, okay. And luckily they have some leeway. They don't come and shut you down right away. They give you, they send you a letter. They say, look, you've got 6 months or so to pay this fee. So there's some things like that, but once you have good people around you, good tax preparers, accountants, things like that, you can iron those things out. I always tell people with starting a private practice, depending on, state to state, you're not going to know everything. You're not going to be 100% prepared. The important thing is you start. You just start, put one foot in front of the other. And it comes together. It just comes together. I would say that it was God's grace really putting things in place. There wasn't much. I know, I mean, this sounds, I'm sure kind of annoying, because when people say stories like this, I'm like, oh, well, gee, you make it sound so easy. But when I moved here, I worked a lot of different jobs. I worked at George Washington University in the mental health clinic there, which allowed me a lot of flexibility. And I was using, in the building that I'm in currently, in downtown Silver Spring, Maryland, I saw an ad on Craigslist. Someone had a space and you could rent it for $38 an hour to see, whatever you wanted. It was a fully furnished office space, and there were no other therapists or anyone using it. And I said, yeah, I want to start using this space. And I was there maybe 4 months, and the guy said, look, I want to break this lease. I really don't want this space anymore. I'll sell you all this furniture and this everything for $200.
Oh.
And I'll put you in contact with the leasing agent here, or the property management at the building, and they can give you a good deal on the rent. And I literally just took the space over, lickety split, and I literally still have the same furniture, nice furniture. I have the same furniture, everything that he had in that place, artwork, everything. So I never had to move in, get set up. It just kind of was like, hey, this is, if you want this space. And I was, I definitely was prayerful about it. But I've never had anything be that so kind of just like cut and dry for me. And I definitely took that as a sign that I was where I needed to be, and grew from there. And now I think with these companies like BetterHelp, because I started taking clients from BetterHelp for a while until I had my own clientele, and they'll keep you busy. So there's so many different ways now as a therapist that you can start from zero to, a full caseload of clients, with a lot of, the different resources that we have nowadays.
Right. Wow. $200 for full office furniture.
Yes.
That's a steal right there.
Yeah, it is. He just didn't want it. He was like, I don't need it. So it worked out.
All right, perfect. I'll take that. All right, so now we're getting into our final 3 questions, because of course, all good things must come to an end, right? So first out of the final 3, is there anything that you would like to tell people starting out in the field or have been in the field for a while?
I can't help but highlight over and over again the importance of networking. I truly would not be where I am today in my career if it weren't for the relationships that I've cultivated. And I'm really grateful for those relationships. And I continue to maintain and foster those relationships. I learn things every day as I continue to expand. And it's just important. It's important to be able to learn from others. I also can't stress enough how important it is to have a consultation group. Many of us, especially in this virtual space, are kind of on islands, literally by ourselves, and you can get burnt out very quickly that way. And so it's really important to keep yourself accountable in that way.
All right, perfect. All right, so second to last question, right before it gets to the most important one. Is there anything that you would like to say that I haven't had a chance to ask you?
No, this has been pretty comprehensive and thorough. So I think you've hit all corners.
All right, perfect. Right, we didn't even get to all the other questions. Right, but that just means we just have the most important question. where can people contact you or find you if they want to connect or learn more information?
Yes. Okay. So everything's on our website, healing-circle.org. You can find our YouTube page, our Instagram, our newsletter, our blog, our consultation page. If you want to schedule consultation, you can also click to see our Psychology Today page. So everything is at healing-circle.org. You can reach out, email us, call us if you have any questions. I am not in the Chicagoland area anymore, but I do have a robust network there if people, want advice or want to find a therapist in that area. So that's how people can find me.
All right, perfect. All righty, so that's it for this interview. All right,
Okay.
so first things first, again, Leslie, thank you very much for doing this. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. All right, everybody. Like I said, we'll have to have Leslie come back and do a part two. We didn't even get through all the questions, and I'm pretty sure there's more stuff that we want to pick her brain about.
Okay. I'd love to come back.
All right, perfect. All right, other than that, then that's it for this interview. Thank you very much, everybody. This is Coresair Mack, president of the Illinois Mental Health Counselors Association, signing out. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.